everyone, my name is Victoria Hooper. This is the screen that you'll see when you go into my lesson plan demo for Project C, the folder that I created. So I wish I could have added student samples. Sadly, when I did this activity, it was with my student teaching school, so I no longer have access to that Instagram that I used. But anyways, so first thing in here is the lesson plan. It's titled Lesson Plan, Ethos, Pathos, Logos, EPL, Instagram Commercial. So when you click on it, you'll see that I have my objectives, my lesson activity, and my assessment. So my objective is just really that students will use rhetorical appeals to create an advertisement and persuade someone to purchase or to buy into something. So I'm really focusing on having students using ethos, pathos, and logos, the three rhetorical appeals that we focus on, to be able to persuade somebody to do something. And instead of just having them take a test to show me that they know what those rhetorical appeals look like, I actually want them to create an advertisement that they would see on Instagram for this. So they will have to create an Instagram advertisement. They can either use a photo or video. I know some of my students are not as comfortable using videos, so they might want to use a photo, or I have some kids that are really outgoing and want to use video. So I wanted to give them either options for that. And they have to use at least 2 of the 3 rhetorical appeals. So they can choose from ethos, pathos, and logos, and they have to choose at least 2 of those to use. So 2 rhetorical appeals have to be used in the activity. If students decide to use a video, it has to be at least 30 seconds. I think that Instagram only allows them to do like, I think 1 minute, but so it should be around 30 seconds to 1 minute, depending on what they're wanting to persuade their audience to do. And so they must have a caption that's 1 sentence. This caption has to be catchy. I tell my students that since it is only 1 sentence, it's got to catch your user's attention. It's got to be intriguing. It's got to make them want to watch your video or to want to purchase your product. So that caption for the video is very important. On the flip side, if students decide to use a photo, they can only take 1 photo. They can't use more than 1 photo. They have to just use 1, and their caption has to be 4 sentences. The way I explain this to my students is that this caption is explaining your product. Because you're not in a video and you're not explaining your product or your cause in a video, you have to explain it in your sentences. So your sentences have to be detailed, and they have to explain what you're wanting your audience to do. So students can choose any ad that they want to create. In the past, I've had students do, one did a shampoo bottle, one did supporting adopting shelter dogs, just stuff like that. It's just different depending on what they want to do and what makes them want to persuade somebody to do something. So they can promote a product, an organization, a cause, or any other type of advertisement they want to use, as long as it is school appropriate. Of course, working with high schoolers and middle schoolers, I know that a lot of times they don't choose school appropriate, so we've got to slide that bit in there. So all students must be, sorry, that's my phone going off, y'all. All students must be involved in the making of the advertisement. Only 1 student will be allowed to not be in the camera shot, and that's the student that's holding the camera. So whichever student just doesn't feel as comfortable being in the camera shot has to work the camera. All of their students have to be involved in some way. So students will then present their Instagram ad to the class and explain the 2 rhetorical appeals they use. Okay, so this is what leads into the assessment. For this, because this project does take them about 2 or 3 days, if more, with the presentations, I do have 2 assessments because I have a group assessment and an individual assessment. The group assessment is, of course, the presentation of their advertisement to the class. As long as they meet all of the requirements listed above and they accurately explain the 2 rhetorical appeals they used, then they're fine. I'll show you the rubric in just a second. It's under the student copy and rubric document. So as long as they meet all those requirements and they accurately explain the rhetorical appeals, that's really what I'm looking for. This is really just to share the work that they've done over the past few days and to show off the advertisement that they made. The main individual assessment here is that the students are going to complete a ticket out the door, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember who gave me this suggestion, but it was great, so I loved it. But students are going to complete a ticket out the door about one group. They choose one group that they really enjoyed listening to and watching their video, and they have to answer this prompt: which group's commercial was most persuasive? So they have to pick which group they felt persuaded them the most to either buy their product or do something that they wanted them to do. They have to explain why it was persuasive, and they have to name at least one of the rhetorical appeals that they used that made it persuasive, and they have to explain why it made it persuasive. So it's about a paragraph, and as long as they accurately explain all that, then that's really what I'm looking for in this assessment. So going back to the folder, as I've said before, sadly I can't retrieve any copies of student work for this, but the other thing I did add was the student copy that I provided my students and the rubric that I provided. So I just printed it out front and back, and when you click on it, it looks like this. It just says EPL commercial activity. So I normally, depending on, of course, circumstances in the classroom, I normally let them work in a group of 2 to 4. Of course, if they only want to work with 2 people, then they're just going to have more work to do. But they're working in groups of about 3 to 4, depending on how they want to work, and they're going to create the commercial that they want to promote. As I mentioned here, it can be a product organization that they're wanting to support, anything like that. And I also list that they have to use at least 2 of their 3 rhetorical appeals. So one thing I didn't mention earlier is that students have already went over what these rhetorical appeals are, and they understand all 3 of the rhetorical appeals: ethos, pathos, and logos. So what I did is I went about half a week or a week before. I explained what ethos, pathos, and logos was. They did, they took notes, they wound up looking at other commercials to see what rhetorical appeals they used, and they identified the different rhetorical appeals in different commercials. So they've seen what the commercial looks like, and they have an idea of what they should be doing at this point. So this is really their main assessment for this standard. So and I do explain the requirements for the video. It's got to be at least 30 seconds. They have to have one sentence that is catchy. The requirements for the photo is that it's just a single photo, has to have 4 sentences explaining the topic. So they have those requirements there. And one thing I did with this class is that they have to be creative. Of course, they can't go and copy what someone else did. And they have to have at least one prop in it. So if they're using a shampoo bottle, for example, maybe they would have brought in the shampoo bottle, and I actually had someone do that. It was a pretty cute commercial. But they brought in the shampoo bottle, and they explained why that shampoo was better than all the other ones. So of course, all group members have to be involved. Only one group member can be outside of the camera, and that's the person who's operating it. So here's their rubric. When I student taught, my mentor teacher did everything on point values. So that's why it's a weird 40-point strange point value thing. So anyways, if they use an appropriate medium, photo, videos, 30 seconds, it has 10 points. All group members participating, and that does include the one person being behind the camera and not in the actual camera's view. So that's 10 points. The appropriate written portion, that goes for the one phrase that's catchy for the video, or the 4 sentences that explains it for the photo, and that's 10 points. And then in their presentation, they explain the use of 2 of the 3 appeals during their presentation. So they explained how they use ethos, how they use pathos, or how they use logos. And that's a total of 40 points. So that's about it, I think. If y'all have any questions, let me know. I hope I explained everything well. And I enjoyed sharing this lesson I did with y'all. Bye. Have a great day.